So the human design system is a map to navigate the tricky terrain of unraveling the separate self. It gives us clues to how our specific programming is designed to keep us away from being freed from the sense of separation. But just like every system, at some point, there's a need to let go of any understanding. Because the true self, our passenger consciousness, that which is watching the Maya, or is not affected by the Maya, that is silent stillness, and resting there, it becomes more and more enjoyable, more and more appealing as we allow the deconditioning process to happen. The point of that is not to gather more information or concepts or keep on holding on to a story of me and my life. The point of the deconditioning process is to bring us deeper into a connection with passenger consciousness, which is beyond story, because passenger consciousness is only here now. And so there's no such thing as a past. There's no such thing as a future. It's not an easy journey. It's not fun to the me to go through the painful process of feeling the feelings underneath the conditioning program. We all carry a fractal of that programming. It's not, and what's being seen deeper is that it's not my mind. The mind feels like it's so personal, right? It's the mind, the collective ego mind. And each one of us has a program of a specific knot of separation that goes back through time, if there is such a thing as time. In the relative, there's lifetimes upon lifetimes, which are all here now, held in this karmic complex. And so the work that we came to do is to unravel what feels like our own personal complex. And as we do the work, we realize it's not personal. Each one of us we can relate. And it's like to keep going, I guess. A lot of people can get, and myself included, can get stuck in the story of me and my suffering, and me and the journey that I've been on. But it's to let go of the story so that we can rest in the aliveness of the self, the true self, passenger consciousness. And so what I've been seeing over the last few days, after the last purge, there was just a pull into the silence and into the being. And there is learning of discernment between what's mind and what's taken me out of the being and what's the being. And pretty much, as radical as it sounds, I have this book here. Let's see. This book. And this guy talks about Michael Langford. He talks about the imposter self. If it's speaking to us in words, if it's speaking to us in our language, that's the imposter. And the ego mind does not like to hear that. And so we taste the being. When we taste our being, it becomes so clear that any thought that's followed takes us out of that. But what I've just gone through is that how tricky the mind can be in justifying its thinking and understanding and knowing. And for me, it was the astrology that there's like this justifying of, but it's helping people. When I understand, I can understand this astrology thing and understand so much and just help people. And on a relative sense, that's true. But I'm here for freedom. So recognizing that this self, this ego, is so tricky and so cunning. The imposter self, how it gets in there. And even this video, I'm like, oh, is this the imposter self? And it's okay, because it feels like this just wants to be shared as I'm on my discovery process, unfolding and diving deeper into the true self. I want to share. Something wants to share. So the imposter or the interceptor is any time there's any sort of thought that's in English or in your native language talking to you, that's the imposter self. And I'm seeing that the being doesn't have any desire. It's so peaceful. It's still. It doesn't want to be anybody. It doesn't want to know anything. It just wants to be like feeling itself, like the aliveness of the self. It's so good. It's so, I can feel it now, it's so joyful. And the mind comes in and tries to take the attention away. Oh, think about this. Oh, you need to think about that. Yeah, so this discernment process is part of the maturation process. And can see that for myself. The discernment is getting a little bit clearer. I feel like such a baby in this. But what I'm feeling, there's the clear distinction between resting in the self and how amazing that is and how wonderful and peaceful that feels versus the mental activity. And in the unraveling process, as this stuff arises to be met, as the conditioning arises, there is going to be mental activity. But as we anchor more and more into our true being and that which is untouched, that can be holding the space of love and stillness for the deconditioning, the shattering process, the emotions to come up and and to be just received, to be reintegrated back into their knowing. And as we are able to do that, then the story settles down. The story of me and my life and what I need to do settles down. It can quiet. Yeah, so just sharing in my own discovery process, this is how it's happened. The more that I've received the intensity of the emotions in the story, the more it's just been able to settle, and the more access I have to my being. Such grace. And there's just such a deeper pull and more devotion to really, keep going and keep resting in the being and keep turning the attention to the expanded view that the here-ness and the now-ness of my being is always the same, no matter where the body and the mind are whatever they're doing. The here-ness and the now-ness of the being is the same. So just checking back in all the time. Am I here? Yep. Is it now? Yep. Yeah, so as the world gets more chaotic, we get to choose to rest in the sanctuary and the peace of our true being, of the truth of who we are, and extricate ourselves from the Maya. And human design is a beautiful tool to point to the ways in which each our specific programming conditions us to believe that we are a separate me. But as I said in the beginning, at some point, all knowing, all understanding, all concepts, all beliefs and opinions, they don't matter anymore. Nothing needs to be answered. When we come back to the beauty and the glory and the gift of the true self. So that's my message. Blessings to all you beautiful beings out there doing the work. Keep going. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck in any ideas and concepts. Let's just keep letting go, letting go, letting go. Resting in the being and trusting that everything is unfolding for our freedom. If there is a heartfelt intention, if there is a longing for truth, then everything will be orchestrated perfectly for our awakening, for our realization, for our homecoming. Okay. Thank you for being you.